According to the latest data from JPPH, Malaysia recorded 196,232 property transactions worth 107.68 billion ringgit in the first half 2025, while the number of transactions dipped slightly by 1.3%, the total value rose by 1.9%, suggesting that higher value properties are still moving. However, unsold residential properties remains a pressing issue. As of mid-2025, there are 26,911 completed but unsold units valued at 16.44 billion ringgit, a sharp increase of 16.3% in volume and 17.9% in value compared to the second half of 2024. Affordability continues to dominate the conversations, with 65.3% of new launches priced below 500,000 ringgit, yet questions persist about whether these homes truly meet the needs and preferences of Malaysian buyers. And for that, I welcome you, our guest. Ready to help us understand this is Sulaiman Sahih, the Director Research and Consultancy Services Rahim and Co International Sdn Berhad. I want to say thank you very much, Sulaiman, for joining me. Firstly, talking about the property market, how would you describe the overall property market performance, especially in the first half 2025, where the trends in line with expectations, or did the data reveal some surprises?
Firstly, good morning, everyone. As you've actually highlighted earlier, the market actually performed slightly slower by 1.3% in terms of total volume of transactions. But we are not so concerned with that because it is not really a market downturn, if you like. It is actually set against a very good performance in 2024. The market actually, as you can imagine how it performed after the COVID pandemic, it has actually grown up. Big jump in 2022, 2023 normalized a bit, still a small jump. 2024, we actually expected it to be more stable, but it continued on to be rising. And that rise in 2024, believe you, is actually the third highest number of transactions that the nation has actually recorded in a year. So how the market has actually performed in 2025, it's more of a normalization, which was actually seen in the first quarter. And then in the second quarter, actually, there is a bit of improvement. The first quarter reduced by 6%. Second quarter actually improved by 4%. But overall, because of the weightage between the two quarters, it actually dipped a bit by 1.3%. In terms of value, total value of transactions, it did actually increase corresponding to the number of transactions. And it's focusing more, there's more weightage towards the higher price bracket properties. Nonetheless, with regards to how the market is actually moving right now, we see it is going to be, the market is going to be very sustainable, I guess, in terms of the perception is that it is going to be very cautiously optimistic for most. And the buyers are still looking out there, although developers are very more cautious against the persisting global challenges that we are currently facing.
All right. As you mentioned, the market currently will be is going to be sustainable, but investors and market is going to be very, very cautious and optimistic moving forward. And I'm going to talk about where everyone also looks at sold versus unsold as a numbers game. But what hidden realities do these figures mask about the health of our property sector?
Okay, be it the market is expected to be sustainable, is actually resilient, to say the least. The number of unsold versus sold properties continues to be one area that needs to be focused on. The sold level numbers are actually just number of transactions, as you actually highlighted earlier. The unsold numbers are the one that is an indication of how the market, the demand, how strong the demand is. And in terms of demand, we have to look at the effective demand, where transactions can actually be realized. People can actually get loans, or if they were to actually get loans, or actually making purchases through other means like cash buyers and whatnot. So the number of unsold versus the number of unsold stock in the country, if we were to focus on the big issue of overhang, which is now correctly being described as completed, unsold, and completed properties have actually risen. And this is, you can see in terms of the number of transactions for the residential property is the one that's a bit concerning right now, where most of the units are actually cluttered within the 300,000 ringgit and below. However, you can see the number of total dwelling, meaning that there's residential units on residential title, and service apartments that are actually on commercial title. If we were to combine these two, the total number of overhang or completed unsold, currently records at 47,000, up from the 26,000 that I actually mentioned only for the residential sector. But this is where you can see one factor contributing towards this is affordability and sellability, which then translates to the different dynamics that makes a property sellable, be it price, location, product, as well as the consumer preference and considerations themselves.
And you mentioned that also we keep hearing the affordability is the issue, and accessibility as how can easy and convenient for us to access certain areas. But is it really affordability, or is it that what's being built doesn't reflect what Malaysians actually want or need?
That is why the factor of sellability is also taking into consideration of the consumer preference, the location that is, where it is actually located in an area that is well supported by public transportation, especially within the affordable price bracket below 500,000 ringgit, where reliance on public transportation is actually very important. But on top of that, one of the biggest issues in the market right now is the definition of affordability. A lot of entities out there who actually look at the affordability being primarily measured by the price quantum of 400,000 or 300,000. But if it's a 400,000 for a 400 square feet apartment, that is still 1,000 ringgit per square foot, which is not affordable compared to another unit that could be 450,000, but it's actually a landed property with a built-up of almost 2,000 square feet. So that is actually makes a perception, a different perception. Also, interesting to note, the number of residential properties that are completed unsold, one of the factors that actually, one of the areas that actually has quite a significant chunk of landed residential completed yet unsold properties is in the state of Perak. There's also, these are the states that actually are very diverse in terms of its demographics as well as the geographic spread. But yeah, affordability also relates to the level of income of those local population. And this is actually not just in Perak, but it's actually throughout the state, throughout the other states as well.
We have sold completed, sold incompleted, but also there's also unsold complete and unsold incompleted. But mainly for unsold units are often seen as a burden. But could there be a scenario where unsold stock actually plays a strategic role in stabilizing the market?
Of course, when the market is actually efficient, we would expect the market, whenever the supply comes into play within a reasonable market time frame, it would actually be absorbed and sold within the market. But having an inventory stock within the market would actually allow a bit of flexibility and quick returns or quick responses whenever there's spike of demand. We see also in terms of the number of overhang, or number of completed unsold, in the past 3 years or so, has actually been reducing. And on top of that, the prices that actually gone through spiraling growth in the past, about 10 years ago during the market hype, have actually stabilized. And this is one of the, well, I guess, benefits of having these inventory where there's new demand and there's new supply that's already existingly available. So the market match is it's easily met. However, these unsold stock or inventory, unsold inventory, when it comes to a certain magnitude or size, then it becomes a bit critical to the developers, to the financiers, to the bankers as well as a nation as a whole, where we actually lock up our resources in units that are still not being monetized or sold.
And we need every stakeholder support within to make sure the property market is placed and stable, and government incentive often target first-time buyers. Talking about this context, but is this approach missing the larger structural problems behind persistent unsold units? What's your thought on this, Sulaiman?
There is a larger structural problem, as you rightfully mentioned. If we were to just continue on business as usual, where it's left to the market to actually make decisions based on the data that's currently available in terms of real-time data, which still has a lot of room for improvement. That's where the lagging, then the bureaucracy within the supply chain also comes into play. The lagging effect, because when people plan in 1 year, it's only ready, the building is going to be completed in 3 years' time or 4 years' time. So by the time, the market may have actually changed, as well as the income level, as well as the preferences within the market. So when we actually want to have a better system within the market, these data as well as bureaucracy in terms of the control mechanism that we actually have within the market would be very, very important. And this is where local authorities, where they actually give approvals, or even when they do financing to actually get bank loans for the projects and whatnot, when those assessments are actually being done, it must be done independently by competent professionals who actually really do know about the market, do know about the demand, as well as the information that needs to be gathered from local authorities, because they know the number of new supply that's coming up or planned or being submitted by various developers, as well as DOSM, and also the banks themselves also actually have a strong database if it's basically being sanitized so that it actually can be used by the market at large.
We need to ensure that the system is efficient and can protect all stakeholders, the buyers, the consumers, the developers, and also the agency system, and also from the government support. But from the view of developers, do you think developers are genuinely shifting their design and pricing strategies in response to unsold stock, or are we still seeing a build first, hope to sell later kind of mentality?
The current mechanism in Malaysia is still relying on the build then sell first, sell then build, meaning that they actually start selling before the building is actually being completed. With that, when they actually sell the properties or launch the properties, and they actually expect the market to actually absorb, this is where now one system is that it allows better flexibility for the developers. But this is also where the speculation factor comes into play in much more significant way. Developers have actually responded in the past few years, barring the past few years actually, leading up to 2024, until 2022, there were a lot of new launches that were priced below 500,000. About 70% is actually below 500,000 ringgit, the new residential launches. Or if we were to take below 300,000, it hovers at about 45%. But those numbers have actually reduced. In the past 2 years, 2023, 2024, the number of new launches that are priced below 500,000 have actually reduced to about 60%. And for the ones that are below 300,000 have actually reduced to about 33%. This is where the market, as we see it improves, the number of transactions have actually improved. The market is actually becoming more upbeat, I guess, in terms of the developers, to actually sell these higher units, higher price units. But one of the primary drivers for this factor is cost-driven. Cost-driven is with the construction costs as well as the cost of labor that's actually ever increasing. Developers are actually trapped and need to balance between the profitability against the sellability.
This is a very insightful input. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time, and this is the end of our segment. I want to say thank you very much to Sulaiman Zahir, Director Research and Consultancy Services, Rahim & Co International, Sdn Bhd, for helping us understand the first half 2025 market segments. I help understand more on the sold and unsold and how it impacts the property market. Again, I want to say thank you very much, and definitely all of our discussion here will be featured in astronomy.com.